What is the number if n squared is equal to 10? A contest was held.
The square root of 10 is 3.1. 3.1 multiplied by itself is 9.61.
The square root of 10 is 3.11. 3.11 multiplied by itself is 9.67.
The square root of 10 is 3.14. 3.14 multiplied by itself is 9.8596.
The square root of 10 is 3.15. 3.15 multiplied by itself is 9.9225.
But we're getting closer to 10. 3.16 multiplied by 3.16 is 9.9856.
A little more.
You're all wasting your time. Why don't we just represent it as root 10? Let's use the symbol for square root. So it is read as square root of 10.
This number cannot be expressed as a rational number. How do we call it then?
Let's use this number as an irrational number.
It turned out there were so many in that family with that family name. So it was also an infinite set, an endless set. And so we have the set of irrationals. So don't begrudge people who are irrational. They too have a place in this world. They are not really odd ones, nor do they come as nerds. They are also members, like the rational numbers. We find, for example, that thousands of years ago, Pythagoras, that master of the right triangle, had the idea of irrationals when he thought of a right triangle with unequal legs and applied his famous theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But if the legs of a triangle are equal, the relation becomes a squared plus a squared equals c squared. 2a squared equals c squared. C equals the square root of 2a squared. If a is equal to 1, then c is equal to the square root of 2. So 2 is the original irrational number. You can't get them any smaller if the radicand is to be a whole number. Or so we thought. The square root of 2 is not a rational number because it cannot be expressed as the ratio of two integers. And yet we know it exists and that it has a quantitative value. And so are the square root of 3, the square root of 5, the square root of 7. But the square root of 4 is very rational because positive 2 times positive 2 is equal to 4 and negative 2 times negative 2 is equal to 4. The square root of 4 is either positive 2 or negative 2. Since the square root of 4 can be expressed as the ratio of 2 and 1, then the square root of 4 is a rational number. It does not belong to the family of irrational numbers. In the same way that the world is made up of simple folks and complex folks, of rich people and poor people, of oddballs and squares, we have rational people and irrational ones. Like numbers, together we are all people of the world, and we each play a part in it. So you see, no matter how you dislike the ways of your friend, no matter how you describe her behavior as irrational, she is still a person who has a rightful place in this world. Okay? And now it's time for our lesson on irrationals. Irrational numbers are sometimes referred to as radicals. They are written with a radical sign. An irrational number, when written, has these parts. This is called the radical sign. N is the radicand. It is the number under the radical sign. The index is indicated by a small number on the top left of the radical sign. If there is no number there, it is understood to be 2. This is read as the square root of n. This is read as the cube root of n. In 2 cube root of n, 2 is a coefficient of the radical. Note these relationships. As you can see, extracting the square root of a number is the opposite or inverse operation of squaring that number. To find the square root of a number n, we think of a number which, when multiplied by itself, gives n.